but for some reason the zombie is sunk inside the paint. This toxic bucket, you can basically use it to start a zombie apocalypse. It's just green fire, and it doesn't spread like a normal fire where it's just one by one. It literally spreads on a whole second layer. What's up guys, my name is Dean, aka the Blue Crusader, and welcome back to the channel. So last time what we did is we did this tsunami mod. We used the tsunami bucket and we poured it all over a village and some of the terrain in the world, and we just saw how much water it would take to actually wreck a village. So we couldn't find a second village to test the tsunami on last time, so in this video I'm going to be trying to destroy as much of the city as possible with a black hole, and maybe we'll test it multiple times, but I can tell this thing is probably going to destroy my computer. Because we couldn't find many structures last time in the last video, I've actually taken it upon myself to download this really huge awesome map, which is a city map for Minecraft 1.7.10. So you'll see we have planes in the sky, we have loads of skyscrapers. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to take one of the apocalyptic buckets and put it in my inventory, and in this video we're looking to actually find the black hole bucket. So you can see we have the black hole bucket right here. Now I'm not sure how this works, okay? I've not actually ever tried this before. This is just interesting for me. This is as much of an experiment for me as it is for the people who are going to watch this. So I'm not sure if I have to place it at the highest point or if I have to place it just somewhere random. But I guess we're just going to have to get into this and just test it out for ourselves. We're on top of this skyline right here. I'm just going to place it on top of this building. I'm going to destroy the redstone torch. We're just going to place here. So 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay, I can't tell what's happening right now. We have a purple block which is just glitching and just, I don't know what it's doing. I honestly don't know what's happening. I think it's glitching. I'm not sure if it'll get bigger, because I'm pretty sure black holes get bigger, right? So it's kind of like a glitching void right now, and you can see that the blocks below it are actually getting deleted. So I guess we'll just give it some time and see if it deletes something. If it doesn't do anything, then that's going to be the biggest letdown ever. But like I said, I'm pretty sure black holes do grow. So I was expecting that it would be just like a black orb or circle, but it's just a box which is not textured. Oh snap, wait. It actually... Wait, the block just changed. It's changing blocks into something. Okay, something's happening now. Okay, it's lagging me a little bit. Okay, this is not good. Wait. Okay, I'm going to look... Okay, this is crazy. Okay, it's ruining my frame rate. But you'll see that it did actually have an effect. It was actually sucking me in. But now it's not really doing much. All it's doing is just lagging the game completely and just switching blocks. And I'm not sure if there's a way that we can remove this now. So, okay, well that was interesting. That was an interesting experiment. Wait, can we back out of the world? Okay, I think we might be able to back out of the world. Okay, nice, right. I'm just going to jump into a normal creative world, okay? Just a normal world with some sand, because that city was an absolutely huge scale map, so that's probably why it started lagging. But like I said, I told you this thing was probably just going to destroy my computer when I placed it, because it sucks the player in and then it sucks other blocks in and it deletes blocks around it. But one thing that I am happy about though is since it lagged that much that it didn't actually get bigger, because if it got bigger that would have definitely just blew up my PC. So I went outside of the map for a few moments, okay? I left the world and I came back, and now it's not as laggy. I can tell that it's probably going to start lagging again. But what's interesting is, even though the map wasn't running whilst I left it, it's destroyed even more of the top of the tower. You'll see that the top of the tower, the sort of needle of the tower, has completely been removed, and it's still destroying blocks even when we're not inside the world. So you'll see that this thing is just absolutely crazy, and when I go in Task Manager it's literally using up nearly 100% of my CPU. So next up is the fire bucket, okay? So I've placed a little bit down already, and you can see that when we place it down, it replaces grass and it expands at a crazy rate. If you've played World of Warcraft, this is kind of like fell fire, it's just green fire. And it doesn't spread like a normal fire where it's just one by one. It literally spreads on a whole second layer. So it can be 2 blocks high, maybe even 3, I don't know. And you'll see literally in seconds of placing this thing, it's just spread across like 95% of all of the sand on this island. Because I spawned on a survival island to test this out, and it's engulfing the whole thing completely. And you'll see what's interesting is this thing doesn't get distinguished by water whatsoever. It has a ridiculously high level of volume when you go close to it, and it's it's literally drifting on top of the water. Like, the water is not affecting this thing whatsoever. So you could place this fire anywhere, and let's say we left this running for like a few hours, it would literally spread from this island all the way to the second island, which is just pretty crazy if you think about it. Like, you can cover the whole thing in green fire. It's like Game of Thrones when they have all the fire in that huge battle at the city. You literally can emulate the same thing in Minecraft. So that's the fire bucket. It's pretty simple. It's not too complicated. It's not actually that great because the effect gets boring pretty quickly. But the fact that it can spread across the whole sea is pretty worrying. Like, you could grief pretty hard with this if you had this in multiplayer. So the next one is the toxic bucket, okay? So I was going to make an entire video on this, but I figured since the black hole literally nearly blew up my computer, I was just going to pair all of the rest of the buckets into this one video. So this is going to be a video covering the Apocalypse Buckets mod. If you want to test out the Tsunami and the Ice Bucket and see what those are all about, these two, then I do have the Tsunami and Frozen Tsunami bucket in a separate video, because that was pretty interesting. But this is a toxic virus, okay? This is a toxic bucket. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to be pretty interesting. I'm going to spawn tons of mobs on here, probably spiders because they don't despawn in the daylight. And I'm just going to see what this does to mobs, because it'd be pretty interesting. You can see the chicken probably already knows what's happening. It's already started swimming away. Okay, right, let me place this thing here. So the toxic bucket's just like literally a liquid, and it spreads, and you'll see the spiders. This is actually pretty interesting. I didn't know this happened. The spiders, as if this wasn't unrealistic enough, the spiders literally get converted into zombies, and for some reason they all have diamond helmets on. So whatever mobs we have here, they all get turned into zombies with diamond helmets on. So this toxic bucket, you can basically use it to start a zombie apocalypse. Now what I'm interested in is, since this spreads quicker than fire, I want to see what happens when the fire and the toxic liquid just merges together. Like, does it distinguish the fire or does it stop it from flowing? Ah, okay, right, that's interesting. I'm actually kind of glad I used that as an experiment. So the fire will keep spreading in the other direction, but when the fire and the toxic liquid comes together, it literally stops both from spreading. So you can kind of use it as a counteractive measure. So you can see that both have stopped spreading, and for as far as we can see, basically the whole ocean has just turned into green fire and toxic liquid, which is pretty ridiculous. And we have zombies everywhere. Now you can see over here, this island is mostly untouched, but by the time we actually swim to it, the toxic liquid's moving at such a fast rate that it's literally already taken over this island. But luckily the fire's not spreading, so the top of the island's fine, where all the sand is, but it's literally surrounded all in this horrible green water. So we've tested out the fire bucket, and we just tested out the toxic bucket. We can also test out these two paint buckets, okay? So we have a white paint and a purple paint. So these are pretty basic. I'm pretty sure this is just a flowing liquid. So it doesn't really flow like a liquid. What it does is it spreads. So the blocks spread. So it spreads like a really thick sort of layer of blocks instead of an actual flowing liquid, and it spreads and it will actually turn all of the blocks around it into the colour of the paint. So you can see it's a little bit glitchy, you can see here when it forms, but what's interesting is, unlike the fire and the liquid, they don't stop each other from moving. What this one does is it actually pushes through and replaces and expands itself through any different block. So it will push itself through the toxic liquid and basically just completely ignore it being there. So that's more powerful than the apocalypse with these other buckets, which is pretty interesting. And it's literally just paint. But that's the purple paint. We also have the white paint, which is exactly the same. I'm not sure why you'd want to use one of these paint buckets. I mean, I'm actually interested what happens to mobs again. Let's spawn some mobs. So these spiders are just here, and they're dying because they're stuck. So obviously if the spiders walk off, they'll become zombies. But what the paint does is, if we just place the paint here as well, the paint will only expand below the block that you place it. So it won't really do anything to the mobs when they walk on it. The mobs are just literally just chilling here. And obviously spiders are allies with zombies. But for some reason the zombie is sunk inside the paint. You'll see that the spiders can walk on top of it just completely fine, but the zombie will just sink halfway through the bottom of it, which is pretty funny. But like with our purple paint, it completely ignores all of the toxic water, but now we're actually coming onto the border where we place that green fire. So if we just let this expand just a little bit more, I'm really interested as another experiment, what happens when the paint goes into the fire. Or what we could even do is we could place the fire on top of the paint or next to the paint, and will the paint spread through this one piece of fire? Okay, so the paint will completely distinguish it. If the fire's on top, the paint will just turn it into a solid paint block. If it's on the side, the paint will expand and replace it. And you can see already, things are lagging a little bit. You can already see this huge platform of purple paint is expanding towards this white paint. And it looks like we're literally in Antarctica right now, because we've created a huge plane of white paint as a solid mass in the middle of the ocean. Surrounded by toxic water that turns everything into zombies, bordering on some fire which literally ruins the whole map. So we have some pretty crazy stuff going on in this experiment. But I want to see the paint going through the fire now, so you can see it's just about to touch it, and for some reason it's lagging a little bit as it expands, but it is actually expanding through the fire. It's kind of slow, but it is actually working, so that's really interesting. So we've now used literally every bucket in this mod for our experiments. The apocalyptic bucket, I'm pretty sure this does nothing. This is just the default bucket. When you place it, nothing happens. It just gives you some strength, water breathing, haste, and speed for some reason. I guess that's just so you can survive the apocalypse. But yeah, this is the apocalyptic bucket mod. If you want to see the tsunamis in the mod, you can check out the other video. I'm surprised with all of these 3 or 4 different buckets that we've used, it's lagging less than when I just placed a black hole. And I guess what I could do is I could try and place a void before the end of the video and just see how much that lags the PC as well. So the void, literally all it is a black block, but it kind of spreads darkness, so the black block will basically expand and it will create kind of like a darkness or a void of black blocks in the world. Now obviously, for some reason the paint is more overpowered than everything in the Minecraft world, so the paint will stop all these things from spreading, so I guess you could use that for that reason. But if we just place quite a few down, you'll kind of see what the effect is usually. If we just place it all over the paint, you'll see that the blackness kind of expands. And we can actually sit inside this block, inside the darkness block, and it will actually set us on fire, okay? Which is pretty interesting, okay? So the paint is completely hard. That's a hard block we can walk on, which is kind of like a terracotta block. But the darkness sets you on fire when you're inside it. And when you go straight inside it, everything turns red, and everything on the outside just looks dark and red. So that's pretty interesting. That'd be really awesome if that spreaded throughout the whole world. So this is basically what we've done. We've just turned the world into just a huge toxic masterpiece, basically. There's just so many things going on here which shouldn't be going on. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and the download for the mod will be in the description. So thanks a lot for watching. Pray for my PC because it's just lagging like crazy, and I'll see you next time.